Hello and welcome to the Albion TV Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Monday, the 27th of January. Yeah, and I am your host, Shozen, and Bogul is locked in a hotel somewhere in China, dealing with a virus that he cannot do anything about, and they've locked up the country pretty tight, and so he's just sitting in a hotel room where he could be casting the show right now, but no. He'd rather be sitting alone with a few pieces of paper. No, Bogul doesn't have the virus, but they have locked down. Somebody had asked if he had the virus. No, he does not have the virus. He's just locked down in a tiny little town in China, a hotel for, like, he said it was 200 people. There are 5 people in there. They're all locked down and they're not allowed to leave. So poor dude is stuck there. Everybody cross your fingers that he gets back okay. He should be back by next Monday. And it sucks that your vacation is spent like this, my friend. All right, but I do have a good show for you today. We have a very spicy, very dramatic show. As you guys know, drama goes down in the world of Albion. And I like to bring it to you. And more importantly, you guys like to talk about it. So I had a bit of an interview with Del, the former right hand, I guess, of Ironborn and Ego. And there's a lot I could say about it. Delrus, if you want to call it. His Discord is Del, and he's got the little delete key. I see somebody is, going off about him in chat. But we're going to go ahead and play it. I hope you enjoy it. It gets kind of spicy. There are some accusations made, and it gets a little rough out there. So let's see how it goes for everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Albion TV interview series. I am here with a very special guest this week, Del, the right hand of Ego, of Ironborn, and considered maybe the best friend of Torthor. Or at least he was, until just a few days ago. I was contacted by this man because he had a problem, and he needed to talk about it. And just like Dr. Phil, I showed up, and I sat this man down on a couch, and we started having a conversation. Now I'm going to fill you guys in on what he told me. Del, why don't you let the audience know who you are, why you're here, and a little bit about this organization we love to call Ego.
Right, yes. So I am Delrus in-game. I was the right hand of Ego and Ironborn. And up until recently, I quite enjoyed being in Ego and Ironborn. So a few things. As the right hand, the main thing was that I was different to Torthor. Now, this may sound strange. You'd surely think that people in leadership would want to be of a similar mind, but in fact we are of a complete opposite mind on a whole load of things, and that is actually one of the and Torthor has said this himself. You can go and ask him. Is one of the most effective ways of making sure everything gets done when you have one person looking out for half of things and one person looking out for the other half, and having different strengths is very important. But unfortunately, it does mean that we do have disagreements along the way.
Yeah, I have to agree with that statement that sometimes having opposite personalities or even just opposite skill sets can be hugely beneficial. When we were talking before, you had mentioned in the history of Ironborn, well, I guess I brought it up to you, that I was like, so did you work on any of those events in the past? Because Ironborn and Ego have a bit of a rocky history, especially over the last, I wouldn't say 9 months, maybe 12. It's been a rocky year for Ironborn.
I'd say it's been about 8 months, yes.
Okay.
So we've had several issues ever since we properly got onto the map in the Black Zone. We have had various issues with people trying to steal from us. We hadn't, interestingly enough, had much stealing before that happened, but once we became rather successful, we did have a lot of people would try to steal or rise up the ranks and get permissions to do stuff and then steal, and it all. Unfortunately, success attracts people who want
It
to
really
take from that.
does. Yeah, well, if you
The
have
only way
stuff,
to
people
ensure
want
you
to
don't
take
get
it.
stolen from is to be irrelevant. Unfortunately,
If you have nothing, nobody can take it. That's true. But if you have something and you show it off, people are going to want to take it. And has Torthor always been Torthor? Because the Torthor I know will bring 8.2 to an Anglia GVG.
I can tell you that I don't think I've ever seen him in anything less than 8.1.
Okay.
I don't think ever.
Well, showing that bling off every day will bring out the best in people.
In some cases, yes.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about some of those incidents. How were you involved in those? Because I remember I did an interview with Raccoon Pete. I've talked to Player ES. I've talked to a number. I've even talked to Torthor during one of his.
I was mainly around during the aftermath of the Player ES thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had taken a bit of a break beforehand, but Player ES had been given a permission that he wasn't supposed to have in the long run, which allowed him to grab quite a lot of things from Ironborn. You may have heard some figures floating around of how much it was he actually stole. I did the numbers on that, and it came to around 340 mil.
Okay.
In total.
That's larger than the number he gave me.
It's smaller than the number Torthor gave.
It's somewhere in between, which is what I estimated it to be.
Yes.
I will say that when I talked to Player ES, he did say that you were the one I should talk to verify his, how do I say this? Like his interpretation of events.
His interpretation of events.
Yes.
What were his interpretation then?
One was the one that he said that you could confirm was the player abuse. That he was very unhappy with the way that he and his members and other people like him were often spoken to in guild chat or alliance chat or on Discord. He didn't he didn't enjoy Torthor's color commentary.
I think this was mainly in Discord chats. So unfortunately, in voice chats, unfortunately, so it does limit how much of this I can actually see, especially with Player ES being one of our GVG players. I was not in the channel with him and the other 5 people or other 4 people when a lot of that would have been happening. So unfortunately, I do have to say that I don't know the extent of it, but I had heard Torthor crack some jokes about Player ES's nationality. Or perceived nationality. Again, I don't actually know where he's from because
it's the internet. How can you be sure of anything?
Yeah.
I can't confirm what Player ES was saying because it was only told to me, and he told me to go to you. And I think not even trying to confirm it. I wasn't really trying to confirm. I was trying to confirm with the audience that even the people who, how do I say this, disagree with Ego or Torthor or Wa'au or even the Thieves respected you enough to say, no, this guy is on the up and up, and he's the kind of guy who would just tell it like it is. And you just told it like it is. You're like, well, if I could, I would, but I can't. And maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
I would love to say that I could, go back into the channel and, go to the voice history and listen to, whatever Player ES is saying that Torthor said about him and verify if that had happened or not. Unfortunately, I can say is I know of at least a few cases where Torthor he will make jokes about people based on. I wouldn't say he would discriminate, but he will make jokes about just about everyone. He'll say I drink tea all the time. By the way, I don't. I've never drunk tea. Never. It's everyone always assumes that sort of thing, but I don't. So because I'm I can English.
I know, and I say
he does a similar thing about Portuguese people or Polish people or French people. Le baguette is pretty common.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. That's not uncommon here, and I don't think a gentle amount of ribbing is ever what the problem is. I think that
I
what
saw
always
gentle
pushes,
ribbing.
yeah,
I don't
and
believe
I've
I
seen
saw
it.
anything
I've
more.
seen that too. But however, I think what the problem is that his Torthor has some words that he uses in general
Yes.
speech that make even gentle ribbing go to
Yes,
the
there's
point
the
where
gentle
it just
ribbing,
doesn't
and then
feel
there
like
are
it is anymore, because his normal conversation, like when I asked him about this and I was like, hey, Torthor, what's going on with this? He sent me back a response. I could not post that response. Like, I'm allowed to, swear here on the air, and that's not a problem, but there are certain derogatory terms that we're just not allowed to use. And it's like he tried
yes,
to hit all of them. He missed one or two. He missed one or two of them, but he did get a bunch in there. And I was like, buddy, come on, give me something I can say to the audience.
I have to agree that he does cross the line there a little bit
Yeah.
when it comes to swearing, when it comes to using certain words rather, and obviously it's Albion's a game where a very frustrating game.
Yeah.
Where you can go out into the black zone, and everything you bring out with you can lose. So it's a game in which bad things will happen. People can betray each other. People can lose 5v5s or Zerg ZVZs. You can. You can get very frustrating situations.
A lot of people curse each other out. I think our goal should always be to
I
avoid
think
certain
definitely
lines. I mean,
Torford has taken that slightly too far, and there are times where I had to rein him in a little bit. Unfortunately,
you have to. I mean, I've had to do the same. And the thing is when he's not using that language, I actually find Torthor to be kind of enjoyable to be around. He's funny. He's boisterous and stuff like that. But as soon as that starts, it does make it difficult. So Torthor, if you're listening, man, just cut that out, and life will be a lot easier for us. It's
So he's in for that. So
moving on.
Moving on with this string of essentially leaders.
Leaders left. I mean, you just mentioned 3. All of are there any others like that we should know about?
Well, there's other leaders who have left in the past, but I don't think they left in a particularly abrasive way.
All right, let's
the other right hands. I will refer. I refer to Fimoracle. I refer to Verigan. They all left relatively respectfully. Raccoon was removed, as I understand it.
And he left with a group.
Yes, he left with a group.
He had been plotting. This is the repeated joke again, and I feel like I've told this one to you a number of times. How do you get somebody to steal from Ego? You ask.
Well, I don't think he actually physically stole anything.
I know he didn't. He stole players, and I'm going to tell you.
I firmly believe you can't steal people.
I firmly believe you can. It's like if you're in a player organization, right, and you are not the one in charge of that, and you join them. One of the most basic agreements that we make is that you're not going to try to blow up the organization. And if you leave that organization and you try to take players with you, that is just the same as
I did have that as a rule
war.
between Alliance guilds. No aggressively. You can't. That's actually a thing. You can't at least up until I left in Ego. It's in the rules. I believe you can't like harass or pester members of other guilds to come and join your guild. Or even threaten them. In some cases, we've had that happening with a certain individual, which I'm not going to name. That's a whole other story. But I will say that yes, certainly you shouldn't. But people choosing to move guilds, saying,
that's
"Hey,
fine.
I would
that's
like
different.
to move."
No,
guild,
but I believe the situation was that he was like a number of guilds were working together. Like, I want to give as much as a Torthor side of this story as possible.
Yeah, no,
because in his estimation, he had Raccoon Pete and at least 3 other leaders working together to all work and leave Ego at the same time and take as many other guilds as possible.
They were going to split off and build their own thing, and I think that succeeded for a bit, and then it burnt to the ground almost immediately, as I understand it.
Yeah, it was caught between Ego and phrasing, and that is a tough place to be.
Yeah. I think that sort of happened. I thought phrasing was part of that. No, maybe I've got my history wrong.
Was phrasing
To be
actually
honest,
part of that? I think phrasing was separate at the time, or were they?
I
Had they
think
had?
they joined later on. It was Source, and they joined
Yeah,
later on.
yeah, because they went from Sauce to the Bunk Bed Gang and the Bunk Bed
Well,
Monsters.
they
Yeah,
went from
gang
they
Ganglia.
were gang, and then I'm
Yeah,
not going to say what that name was. They were gang, and then they were something else, and then they were no, I think they were Slurp, and then they were Source or something like
yeah.
that.
They moved
Yeah,
through a
yeah,
different
they
couple of different names, and now
couple of different
most of
names,
those
Source, and
guilds
then
are no
obviously
longer
but
there in
when
the
that
center.
fell
Yeah.
apart, phrasing did quiet. So obviously that all happened like that. I can't remember the
That's a lot of world history there. I think the audience is like, "What? Who did what? Sauce?
No,
Slurp?"
I'm
Yeah.
sure people that
Some of
wasn't
them
too
do.
long
Some
ago.
of them do. But this is ancient history. Let's move along to not
Okay.
ancient history, but more modern history. So you
Yes.
said that you were there dealing with the more recent players. We've established that you've been here for a
Yes,
very
I
long
was I
time.
was dealing with that sort of stuff, with preventing, well, not only thieves but also spies, because, and a lot of the audience may not be expecting this, but the major guilds do send major guilds and alliances do try and spy on each other. They want to know what's going on.
Hmm.
They want to know what moves are being made and what plans are being made, and even if you don't want to send spies out, unfortunately that doesn't mean you don't get spied on. Some people just want to fame farm, or go gank, or they just want a GVG, or they just want to go and fight some castles. Unfortunately, I've learned the hard way over the past few months that regardless of or not of whether you play the spy game will play you.
It's true.
Um, and well, I don't know how much I know about it yet, but I'm learning more every day, shall we say?
Hmm.
So I was about I think it was about June or July. Again, I don't know exactly when this started. Torfor was contacted by um, a player who actually had been spying on him for someone else, but had changed their mind for various reasons, and decided to basically reveal all to him and stop essentially the plan that he had been conducting,
The
to
meta plan.
the meta plan, let's call
Hmm.
it. Yes, he had started to set some things off, and then he had at some point turned around and said, "Oh, I don't think I want to do that
Yeah,
anymore."
maybe he felt like he was crossing lines.
Maybe he did.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I
or
think.
maybe he felt that someone else was crossing
Right.
lines, and that he wasn't too happy about that person crossing lines. But I will obviously not share too much about that right now. Um, so I was working with this guy, and the reason that towards initially Torfa was working with this guy, but he was a bit overwhelmed, and I had actually posted a screenshot of all that stuff going on, and he brought me into that chat to talk to this guy and various other people who were in that chat. I've well, if Shozen, I've told Shozen that if he wants to see that chat, I will show it to him afterwards, if he'd like to get the full context of what was going on.
I'm gonna be honest. I just want to be a simple observer on the outside of this. You wanted to tell a story. I will let you tell your
Okay,
story.
well,
We let the
very well.
audience decide. This is not a factual show. This is in the way I think of things, like because it's just screenshots. We're
Okay,
playing a
fair
video
enough.
game.
Fair
This
enough.
is fake news,
Well,
and honestly, it's
I
all for
wanted to verify
entertainment.
to you that it was
Yeah.
real news.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you that to me, it's this is all in the audience, guys. This is all for entertainment purposes only. If anybody does anything that's not for entertainment purposes, then that's crossing lines. This is all for fun.
Indeed. So, sorry, give me just a moment
Okay.
to think about how I'm going to
Well, what we
stop
were.
laughing about that and move on.
Okay. I'll give you a moment.
Okay. Right. So fast forwards a few months, and Player ES did then steal, which was unfortunate. It was, as I said earlier, it was about 340 mil, which was less than what Torva had initially said 500 mil and was larger than what Player ES had said the day after, which was I think 80 mil, less than 100.
I think he said he had taken over 100, but with his
over
cut
100, right?
of 30 mil that he was owed, it was about 80 mil. And he had also said that also included what he gave back, because he gave back a lot of stuff before he added it up. Yeah, there were some people who said that certain chests were theirs, and he returned their gear to individual members because he wanted to make clear that he wasn't trying to rob.
I can confirm he did not return mine. It's still missing.
Well, then you should message him.
I'll have to ask him for that.
Go ahead. I tell him that he told me that he was doing that. So, yeah.
I think there may have been something interesting going on.
Okay. And he also told me to tell you.
Regardless, the total amount that was stolen, and I did this by going through the chest logs, by looking at how much we'd actually moved in and out of places in some cases, because some of it unfortunately was in those army crates that you can place, and the issue was that he'd managed to get the forced claim permission, which meant that he could pick up those crates, pick up what was in those crates, and unfortunately pick up those crates as well, which meant the chest logs disappeared with them. So some of it we had to work out in a more abstract way. But yes, I can tell you that the approximate amount of stuff that was taken at the time by Player ES came to about 340 mil. Obviously, there's extra arguments to be made.
No, it's
or extra things. But yes, the amount that was taken from Ironborn by him at that time was 300 mil. So moving on from that, after that there were a few instances where Torfa was getting a bit frustrated. I feel I believe he spoke to you and expressed his frustration with the situation.
He was very frustrated.
And I also attempted. I was also Player S appeared on this, or he sent you a statement of some kind.
He was on the show. Yeah, I had him on.
He was on the show, right? That was it. Sorry, my memory's not with me today. And then everyone, and I'll say everyone, I mean like 10 to 15, but that's everyone when it's in your Discord messages, was telling me, hey, Player AS is trying to justify his theft. So I was like, I've got it, and then I sent you some responses about what I thought of the situation. So that's all there. Anyway, moving on. Player ES had done that, and he'd gone to a guild called Violets, I think, and Torfa has basically he's gone after Violets as much as he can, knocking down. I think he knocked down one of their hideouts at some point, or one of their allies, or something, and obviously before GVG's ended, he attacked them nonstop, in the bringing in probably some of the best gear in the game, as Torfa as only Torfa can do. But he wasn't very happy about that particular theft, I would say.
No, who would be? I mean,
no. Fair enough.
I feel like that was another instance where a little bit of Dr. Phil having these two guys talk it out could have been good, because
I think it might have been helpful. I'd obviously have to ask Torfa to mind the language beforehand, though.
But I think again we could get back to that. The problem is that when he tries to engage in diplomacy, he says things, even when he's not trying to, that put the other person off.
The other problem I find with him, his diplomacy, is that he doesn't write things down. There was no written agreement between him and Player. So I actually had no way of knowing if Player did indeed say, and I'll have to double check. I believe you that he said he was owed 30 mil. Mm-hmm. Maybe he was owed 30 mil. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was even owed more.
He said it was from gear, like this can be looked up in the argument between the two of them too, where Torthor says that the guy spends too much on gear to begin with, so the gear that he was supposed to get paid back with wasn't even supposed to be 30 mil, because he could have just
Torthor spends too much on gear to begin with.
So like the two of them are arguing about the cost of gear, and it's really the pot calling the kettle black on that one. If he says that he spent 30 million on gear and you're rolling an 8-2 and he's GVGing for you, even if you think he could use a cheaper tape mate.
I can't comment on that,
so,
unfortunately.
Those two, like, those are the arguments that you got to say, okay, he stole from me and I don't like it. whatever he owed, it's not important. Whatever he took isn't important.
Yes,
It's that it was
I'd like to move on from
and
there,
there, yeah.
if that's all right.
So you were at a situation where Torthor's frustrated. He's just been robbed. He's arguing with everybody, and he's asking you to take care of some certain business, right?
He was asking me to take care of things, and behind the scenes, he had also asked me to take care of working with this person who was helping protect us from spies, and some other people, him and some other people who were helping to protect us from spies and internal things, to try and make
evidence
sure something
of real
like that stops
spies.
happening.
I just want to be clear to everybody who's saying, "Oh, you got people working on helping you against spies." Let's be clear. In Ironborn, there are spies. Like, that joke wasn't made in 100% jest. These guys have been probably robbed more than anybody else. They have had more internal strife because of people literally working against them by causing trouble inside their ranks than anybody else. It's been a constant, ongoing trouble with confirmed spying. And
there has been confirmed spying. I haven't.
Yeah.
I have almost concluded who it was that was behind the spying. I have a fair idea, and perhaps towards the end I may speculate a little bit as to who it was. But up until that point, I'm just going to continue with what's happened, what I know has happened. So unfortunately, Torfa was away for a week before what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He was, unable to. He was unresponsive. He was, hard to communicate with.
Life happens. Sometimes we can't play a video game.
Yeah, everyone has. Everyone has a real life. There's no player in this game who doesn't have a real life. Fundamentally, unless your job is literally this game in some way, you obviously. You got to make money somehow out of game.
Yeah, let's come on. Let's not throw stones at me here.
I'm not throwing stones at you.
Let's go. All right, so Torthor's busy. He's not there. He had put you in charge of... You said that there was more to it. You told me before there was some tactical things.
Not diplomacy, but working with this guy to stop spies. At no point had he told me to stop doing that. So I kept working with the guy, and I asked him, a couple of... I heard about Thursday the 16th of January. So that's 4 days before the Queen update, which some of you, which recently happened, and I'm sure lots of you are enjoying that Queen update and everything it has to offer. And I think some of you may not be enjoying it so much. It obviously varies from person to person. Ironborn, I'm going to say, isn't enjoying it very much because we were, and I'd say are, a GVG-focused guild, and obviously changing the way in which territory acquisition works from having a focus on GVG to a focus on Zerg size may have an impact on Ironborn's success for the immediate future. Whether or not, well, maybe ego as well. I don't really know. Again, no territories are claimable yet, so I can't really say what way it will affect us. But our focus for the past, literally the past year has been on GVGers and GVG teams and GVG gear. And with this change, I feel that that Ironborn, I say we, I'm not really part of it anymore.
You will, just like snacks, or we'll get you back where you need to be.
Well, perhaps. In any case, the changes have. I'm not saying they were directly made against us, but certain people may feel that they have been wronged by the changes in Ironborn. There was at one point there was an announcement that we were quitting as a result of the changes, but we then doubled down and said no, we're going to go anyway. And do what we can. It may mean that we may need to make alliances with certain people, or work with certain other alliances rather, not make alliances. Mm-hmm. We've already made an alliance, clearly. Anyway, I was then wondering which, if any, alliances we would be working with. And one thing he had told me for sure was that we were going to be working with the BYOB alliance, which is a relatively new alliance led by Martyrdom.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect... I got to tell you, that sounds like the perfect alliance for Torthor. He'd love that.
Well, I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I was...
BYOB.
I was the one who drew up the...
Yeah.
the agreement between the two alliances, because Torfa was unreachable in a way. And I also asked him, because obviously the anti-spy guy, as I'm going to call him, the anti-spy guy, was working against a different spy, well, someone who was doing a lot of spying, and they did seem to be representing two different sides of an potentially upcoming conflict. And I was obviously in his absence. I didn't want to do anything that's might not agree with what he was. So I asked him, and again, that Thursday I was talking about. Sorry, I got got distracted. That particular Thursday, I got some very strange, like not messages directly from Torfa in some cases, but messages that were sent to other people. That there's one you can see. I've sent a screenshot to Shozen. That should be displayed at some point during the interview, I imagine, where it shows what Torva had said to a certain person who I've censored their name and ID and everything just to keep their anonymity, and then I was also sent something by Darkness, who was the leader of BYOB, about Torva wanting to work in a coalition with, I believe it was Ego, BYOB, Vibe, and PoE.
That's a big
and
coalition.
I had some slight reservations about working with PoE, so I wanted to ask him. As I say, I asked Torfa on, I believe it was Saturday, the 18th. The 18th?
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Yes, the 18th. About whether we were aligning with the spy guy or the opposite of the spy guy, and you can see the name.
Well, so I think you're saying,
so.
like, if I'm reading this, like, you're suggesting this is like Poe is.
Yes, I'm suggesting that Poe is the one that has been spying on us, and I have very good reason to believe that.
All right,
I'm going to say CIR leadership generally, not all of Poe. Not every single one of them has been spying on us. I would say.
And who's your? Because spy guy sounds like a really weird thing. Are you talking about somebody who you like? I mean, is it like some
the person helping us?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm going to say. Well, there are multiple people helping us right now. I could list off Overdose. I could list off Agent Fuse, Voltel, especially Voltel. He's been brilliant. He has helped me in so many ways to keep Ego's Discord and everything secure. While I was there, at least, to try and stop spies getting in too deep.
I will say Discord is like the first easiest way to get into spying.
Yes, I mean,
it's too easy.
Any alliance. So any of you watching this, if you want to get into an alliance or guild's Discord, here is exactly what you do. You can go and look up on their guild info, and almost all major guilds will have their Discord link in their guild info, because obviously to apply to that guild, in most cases, you don't apply through the guild mail, you apply through the Discord. So any of you looking to join the guild, that's how you do that. But let's suppose you were wanting to spy on the guild, you would go in and you would try and create a character, get it to a point where it met the requirements, join in, see if you can rise up the ranks, and then you're in a position where you can potentially, if you chose to, cause some damage to that alliance. And unfortunately, people seem to really like going after mine. Well, my former alliance, at least. For some reason, particularly CIR seems to have gone after my alliance, and I'm trying to wrap my head around why that might be. I've got some hunches, but hunches unfortunately doesn't quite confirm it. And then on Monday, now this is the thing that's shocked me really. On Monday, because I obviously told the anti-spy guy, hey, I told Voltel, say his name now. I told Voltel that, hey, I'm slightly concerned. Torfa says that we may be working with I'm going to say with CIR, PoE, and all them. I think that's a problem, given all the things that we know, and it may make Ego very, very vulnerable to being spied on by them. Quite frankly, it might compromise the situation. And generally, I don't want to work with the people who have been spying on us. If they can't be open and reasonable about what their activities are to us, and I have every reason to believe they haven't, given what I've been dealing with for the past 6 months.
Now, I
5
just
months,
want to
6
be
months,
clear.
something
You're
like that.
not just getting info from like one person on this, and it's not.
I'm getting info from multiple people in multiple
Because
places.
I don't want to like. I would find it real shady if you're just dealing with one guy you call the spy guy, and you're just getting a ton of info from one dude you call the spy guy.
I'm getting info from multiple sources in multiple places.
Because I'll be honest, I've worked with Voltel on his news show. I like to do that weekly thing. He does a lot of Albion news.
It is multiple sources, and I do have eyes inside CIR leadership.
You got to be careful with anybody. Like, I just want everybody to be real careful. If somebody, is dealing in the meta, you got to be careful with them to make sure you're not being played as part of the meta. Just be careful.
I think I'll be fine.
Okay, as long I just want to be clear. You're not getting it from one source. I think I've
already been played, so at this point, it doesn't.
All right, you've already been. Okay, moving on.
In any case, Torfa seems to have done a complete 180 from what he originally told me to do, and he then on the Monday, I then got completely, I got completely chucked out of leadership. All my perms removed, everything. And one of those posts that I saw from the week before basically says, and I'm going to read from this directly. And it's when I was removed, but that's from the Wednesday and the Thursday beforehand. This is one of those things that you don't let them vote on. You tell them how it is, how it's going to be, and why it's the best choice, and then get rid of anyone who disagrees. And that's, I believe, is quite clearly what happened to me. And obviously, I'm not making up the fact that I was removed, because I have logs of me being removed. As for why I was able to get those logs, that's just a Discord thing. That's just a Discord thing. Anyway, So
you were in charge of the you weren't just.
I was generally in charge of the Discord. Yes.
Yeah, so you're not just somebody who was like hanging out. I just want to make your position in Ego real clear. So you weren't just someone who was hanging out and missing CTAs. You were actually organizing them, or handing out gear, or just talking to people who had stolen. I
did most of that.
You also did a lot of the back end too of like guild management. It sounds like you were a permissions guy, because
I was a permissions guy.
Because it sounds like you were the. I work with Bogul, okay, and in that situation, I would be the Torthor, and he would be the you. He takes care of a lot of administrational things, such as Discord and stuff like that, where I take more of the hype and the.
I sincerely hope that stuff is taken care of properly in the future. The person I'm referencing and that knows exactly who they are, and I wish them well. So
these are all things you took care of. So you weren't just a small you were literally building the infrastructure that runs the guild at this point.
I would say at the time I was, yes. Okay. I was doing a fair part of that.
So this is not just some whinging line member who got kicked off because he disagreed with the new alliance member. This is somebody who was helping to run the guild on not just the daily get people out there level, get the gear.
Due to the fact that he was hard to reach and hard to communicate, I had to do a lot of stuff in that last weekend, such as packing up all of the home plots. We had quite a few of home plots by the end. And, obviously any buildings left into them due to the nature of the Queen update would be completely wasted. So I had to go and pack all that up within the last 2 days without really... I didn't know he was going to do it or not, because he was busy.
Gone and you couldn't get a hold of him. So you took care of. So there are a lot of guild leaders who might be listeing right now,
and some other stuff.
Right now, who may really understand this more after you said that, because I didn't even understand.
Some of them were not. Some of those guild leaders, I'm told, were not particularly careful with their permissions, coming up to.
And they may have gotten a lot of theft going on. So I just want to talk about that last week really quick, and I just want to ask you a couple questions. Yeah. So in that last week leading up to Queen, when everybody's got to get all their stuff out of all the territories, your guild leader was absent and you took over this. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter, but you were the person who had always been number 2. You run the guild outside the guild. I was always the
one who was there to step in when things weren't.
So you're you are truly a number 2. You are the one who then said, okay, if I don't make everything happen this week, everything will be gone. So you took care of that. How much loss would you say was incurred in the week leading up to it because of things not getting done?
What do you mean, how much loss was incurred?
So there was no loss incurred because you busted your ass and you got it done because you were a good guild leader?
Well, in terms, there were several things that did need to be done. So the confirmed, multiple, and announced confirmed cooperation was with Ego and BYOB. That was confirmed. That was something I knew for sure was happening. What I wasn't sure was happening was what was going on beyond that. And that's why I was, messaging Torfer, asking him, hey, are we working with this guy or this guy? Because, if I just declare, hey, we're working with this guy, but I go in completely the wrong direction, it's obviously going to cause some problems. So I wanted to get it clear who, if anyone, we're going to be. And I also said, or neither. Maybe we didn't want to go with either.
Right. I think that's established. You thought you were working in a positive way for your alliance. You thought you knew what your alliance was going to be. You had misgivings about working with CIR that, for whatever reasons, that's your guild business. You guys have it. It's an established communication between the two of you, between Torthor and you, over a period of time. This is the direction you're going.
Yes, and as I'm working with particular people.
You're so high up inside the guild that you are literally the person who takes care of it when things go wrong.
So the things that I took care of were, first of all, those home plots, and second of all, writing up the agreement between Ego and BYOB, which basically needed to be clarified on, because obviously there's some things. We're not going to attack each other's territories. We're going to come to each other's defense.
You take care of the agreements. So you're not only take care of the supplies the week before, not only taking care of the Discord and all that nonsense in the back end, you're also taking care of a lot of the forward-thinking stuff where you actually need to write down.
I had to put in a few more guilds. I think I was told to deal with a couple more extra. I was told to deal with Just a Game and iBulgaria, and I'm going to get so much hate for this Masusi guild, I think.
In other words, you're in charge of a lot, and then Torthor comes back. And all your perms are removed. You are literally the guy who runs the guild when Torthor is not there. A good friend of Torthor, somebody who has defend. I just heard you defend the way that Torthor talks to all of us in a way that is not. It's not okay. We all know it's not okay. But you were like, that's him, and you can deal with that. How many people can deal with that? Not many. I'll state this: Torthor does not have a lot of English-speaking guilds in his alliance.
I've noticed that pattern.
That is a problem.
Too.
It's because of the way he speaks. And if you can deal with that and you can make his guild work, and yet he kicks you out on the day of Queen, like he dropped all your perms, like kicked you out of all your perms. The guy who runs the Discord, the guy who ran the Alliance, the guy who is number 2, who made sure that his guild didn't fall apart while he was gone. The number 2 over what?
Yes, so I'm very curious to find out why this sudden shift towards working with someone who had been spying on us all this time, and I hadn't gotten a clear answer other than in that screenshot I sent. Obviously, he appears to believe that it is the best option for us, which I regrettably, I must say, I disagree with. But unfortunately, and he also said in that screenshot to remove anyone who disagrees. So it turns out that perhaps expressing my disagreement with it to one of the other leaders, they told him, and it turns out that unfortunately that meant that I was removed. I didn't make any announcements saying, hey, screw PoE, we're going to war with them. I didn't make any announcements of the sort.
Holy cow. All right, so my instant question is I'm sorry, and this is just my question. Who's the guy inside your guild who's pushing to join CIR?
I don't know. I think it's Torfer. I mean,
if it's just I would ask, if you have multiple right hands, right, and you suddenly have a guy who's pushing to do this, because maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I mean,
but, wow,
I don't.
That seems like a turnaround.
To my knowledge, it's just something that Torfer has decided to do. Okay. I can't say I have evidence that any of the other right hands of Ego were pushing for this.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we had just joined in a coalition with another alliance. Now, it could just be that there was someone in that other alliance pushing Torfer to work with.
Maybe it was another guild.
I don't know.
Wow, because that honestly, I've run a lot of guilds in my 21 years. 22 years of playing MMOs on this earth, and I don't value anything more than a good member. Like when you said that you don't think of poaching members as something of value, I think of a good player as the most absolutely valuable thing you can get in any game, hands down. It doesn't matter how much resources you can get. A good player,
That's not really what I was saying. I was just fundamentally saying that you cannot steal someone. You cannot. Well, obviously, you can force someone to leave a guild if you have the permission to remove them, but you cannot force someone to join a guild if they don't want to.
No.
Money, however, you can grab. Unfortunately, you can grab. Um, so obviously, and it's so he Torfa then after all this reinforces to the alliance that we're staying independent, which is really odd because
Because
it
that's
was the
not
day
what he
before
just fought.
I announced that we were, because I basically had to announce the Mastodon thing, the BYOB thing ahead of time. Otherwise, moving into Queen, it would be unclear to my alliance's members who we were working with and who was the enemy, who was friend and who was foe. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. But Torfa then cleared up that we will always be our own independent organization, which completely contradicts the BYOB thing, and it also contradicts the PoE thing. So I don't really know what's going on. I know that he's either changing his mind a lot very quickly, or he's either been lying to me and this other leader, Darkness, or he just lied to his entire alliance about being independent. One or the other must be true. Both can't be true. Otherwise, he's just flip flopping. And I would really appreciate it if he had been more concise and honest in that
All right.
regard.
I feel like I'm stepping into a minefield here because I already feel like I know the answer. Did you try to talk to Torthor when this happened?
Well, I had tried to talk to Torfa for quite a few times actually in the week up to this happening about this sort of stuff. And
well, I'm talking about after it happened. Like,
after it happened,
perms...
no, I was honestly too upset to try and after I think about 3 days later. I'd have to go and check before I say the amount of time. But 3 days later, we sort of patted each other on the back and said, "Yeah, that happened." Obviously, he didn't give me my roles back, and I still told him, I was disappointed. And basically, the end result is that he thinks I'm being manipulated by someone to
he thinks you're being manipulated.
There's PoE in every shadow.
Yeah, he thinks you're being manipulated by Voltel.
Yeah, that's basically what he said.
Okay.
He seems to think I'm an idiot and manipulatable, and used actually all sorts of words to describe what he thought of my intelligence. And I'm not going to repeat some of those words on this show, but
can you repeat
you can
any of them?
generally work it out. I don't. Conversely, I don't think he's an idiot at all. I think I know if there is someone who's telling him things. I think I know the sort of things they would be telling him, and I know who that would be. And if I was to figure that out, that person is known, and I think I know. Again, this is just speculation at this point, and I may reveal their name towards the end of this interview. I think I know which person in particular is inside. Well, not necessarily inside Torfa's head, but has convinced him that PoE is the best choice. Whereas,
what if PoE is the best choice? Like, let's not discount that, because to me this isn't. I see two different things here. You see this as
if PoE is really the best choice, then they really shouldn't be trying to steal our members every 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
The moment I left, I got a message, and I can obviously show you this screenshot if you'd like, or anyone who wants to see it from the audience. But I got messaged by a PoE recruiter whose whole argument for me joining Crimson, and bearing in mind, for some reason, this guy wasn't even in Crimson, so I was a little bit confused by that. But he was messaging me, and he was in game, so he was sending me whispers. And actually, there's screenshots in.
Have you looked this person up? Other than did you look up their guild history?
And he was
You're talking about this guy Shaghag, right? Like yes, I'm reading your thing. It's a very weird. Let me be real clear. This is a really weird thing to receive from anybody. It says it's somebody who's not.
The main argument for me joining Crimson seemed to be that, there's loads of ex-Ironborn members here that have moved over recently, and I'm just wondering, well, why are there so many people from Ironborn moving over to Crimson Well, that's very interesting. Given
Well,
what's
are
going
there?
on.
Did you look into that? I mean, because otherwise you're believing this individual who's like the things this person says.
I did look into it. It's like
Yeah?
Overwhelm. Delanco's obviously over there. There's a few others. I could go and come back with a list of names, but I have seen an awful lot of people dipping out of Ironborn and dipping into.
Honestly, this looks okay. As you say that, this now one of the things this could be is one of your ex friends, who still wants to be your friend and just wants to play games with you, is being cryptic and silly because we play a video game, and is saying, "Hey, a bunch of us are over here. I know that you're out. I know that you had a falling out, and why don't you come on over?" Now,
Well,
it could also be
say any of that. He didn't say any of that.
No, he was very cryptic and acting like a spy. He writes this just like a spy, saying, "I'm a spy. I'm telling you I'm a spy. I have so much information. You know why I know it? Because I'm a spy." I mean, it's so junior.
I think someone's clearly trying to. But basically,
it's like a 12-year-old. I mean.
I refer to that meme with the two Spider-Men just pointing at each other, and it's just an endless cycle of no you. I think he's being manipulated. I think Torfa's being manipulated. Sorry, he thinks I'm being manipulated, and we just cannot see eye to eye in the matter. So, well, he was the one with the ability to remove me, so I guess it was me that got removed. I don't think I would have removed him. Actually, I think I would have talked it over, but regardless. I'm going to say that I have a very, very strong suspicion, given everything that's happened over the past 6 months, that Crimson Imperium Reborn, and in particular Syndic, is involved with this.
Okay.
And I've also, from what I've seen, he may have crossed a few lines.
That's really funny that you say that, because he sent me a message saying crossing lines is crossing lines. He said I don't know why he sent this. This is ridiculous.
I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I
feel like it's like a goofy childhood like veiled threat. Like he's watched too many like gangster movies. You know, it's like I want to let you know I'm just being a nice guy, but if you just keep doing what you're doing. Crossing lines is crossing lines. Wink. You know, it's like that's. I left out the part where he suggests that I'm committing fellatio. But you know, there's some interesting lines in the stuff that he has written me, so I can understand. Yeah, you might. Nick is a weird dude. He does say some very cryptic.
He's been acting very oddly.
Yeah, well, oddly, I think that's perfectly natural for him. But I do know that him and Voltel despise each other. They used to work together.
The two of them.
They're two like you say spy masters. I don't know if I would
say spy masters. I don't really. I know that. Well, that's the thing. I know that I know that Syndic's a spy master because Voltel was one of his spies. Voltel was the guy he sent to spy on Ego, and I know this because Voltel has shown me.
Well, then you just have Voltel's word saying that you can, unless you have Voltel sending you screenshots. He's
added me to group chats.
Okay.
He's added me to group chats. You can't fake that.
You're there. No, you're there.
On the guys.
No. I try to avoid too much of this. I'm still a little apprehensive of how far this conversation goes.
The evidence is very much there. Anyone who wants to see the evidence is welcome to contact me for it. It's very much there, and I can share it with anyone who feels the need for me to prove it to them. In any case, I want to make it clear. I want to make it clear that I have no animosity towards Torfa. I don't dislike him, and as far as I could tell, he doesn't dislike me. We chatted, and I said, I am going to be leaving the guild on Saturday. By this point, I've already left. By the time you're seeing this interview, I will have already left. And I said, hey, can I take some stuff with me, because this is stuff that I personally put into a certain home plot, and he approved of that, and I made sure I got him in text saying he approved on that just in case. But I'm not in any mood to steal people or to steal things from Ironborn. I'm going to leave it alone.
I just want to get you back there, man. Like, I know maybe I'm sentimental, but I like seeing people stay in their guilds when they really care about their guilds. It's like my feeling about home plots.
I do
and
care
living
about
in your territory.
It, I do care about it, but quite frankly, I don't want to be in any guild aligned with certain people.
Well, what if I could put on my Dr. Phil skin cap and, like my bald head, and get you and Torthor and Voltel and Syndic in a room, and we could all just sit down like adults and talk about this, and really be mature.
If that's something that they would, if that's something that the others would be interested in, you can certainly count me in.
Okay,
but
I would totally.
I have a strange feeling that might be difficult to arrange.
I mean, I will say I've tried to get interviews with Syndic because I do feel it's unfair that he doesn't get to say his side of the story, and I've
never received a single message.
Well,
but I have seen multiple. I've seen multiple group chats of him talking about some very interesting things.
Yeah, I've seen him say some nasty things about me, and I didn't want to believe they were ever true because I think that's kind of like just foul.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. But those group chats. If people really want to know,
but what I do know is what he sent me, and
yes.
After honestly. Syndic, man, if you don't want people to think bad at you, be careful about the DMs you send them, because that's the only opinion I can form of you when you write things like that to me. And it's the same thing I would tell Torthor. Be careful of how you speak to people. Like, when you're on the internet, you're not in your house talking to people. You're in their house talking to them. Pretend you're in their living room, that you've been invited into their homes to engage with them. Don't act like you're in your trailer park and you can do whatever you want. No, it's not that way, man. You're in their home. We're all in each other's home together. Act like reasonable adults sometime. I know you have to be adults because you have to have a credit card to get in this game. Come on.
And the reason, one of the main reasons that I'm so concerned about PoE, and again, is because of what happened last time. PoE got too big and they got too strong. There was they had control over pretty much the whole map with either PoE directly or several rental alliances. One of which was called Rent. It was literally called Rent. Like, they were very open about this, and I have. Logs of Syndic discussing this with various people back in 2018, and I have no reason to believe that given the opportunity, he won't strive for the same goal. He is very interested, for whatever reason, in making a lot of in-game silver out of whatever he does, and whatever he chooses to do with that, I don't really know. Maybe he just wants to give his guild members lots of nice gear and battle mounts.
Like Torthor does.
I've been using a lot of battle mounts recently.
Although, that's there's one place where I do really respect that guy. It's on the field of battle. He's done a fantastic job. I have been thoroughly entertained by watching their ZVZs. Absolutely. And Syndic's been leading them, like
all the guys who are fighting and all that.
Props to him for, he might be difficult to deal with in PMs or DMs or whatever you want to call them.
I'll put it this way: I'm extremely respectful of most of his ability in game.
It's ridiculous. Like, I did an interview with that guy a year plus ago, almost 2 years ago, and we talked about like where he came from in the game, and I was very, very impressed. And this stuff that he did now, switching over from GVG to ZVZ, not a lot of guys make that transition very well. Took Mojo a very long time to do it. And I'm impressed with that Jurassic Park that they have going on out there. There are more... It's awesome. I love seeing it, though I did hear they lost 30 of them the other day. That's a lot.
Ooh, yeah. That's really quite a lot of silver lost, isn't it, overall?
Yeah.
Because, they're all 20 mil silver or 40 mil or sometimes even more than that. That's really quite...
So if anybody was wondering, if you want to make accusations, no, I think we all know where the silver's going. So please, I do not approve of that kind of accusation. Like, I know
I'm not making any accusations. I'm simply saying there was a lot of renting going on before, and it seemed to be that he wanted to focus on making as much silver, in-game silver, as he could.
I'd like to think that we're all just enjoying playing the game, and we could all keep it there. So let's, I don't mind smack talk and stuff like that, and you guys want to have your spy games and stuff, just keep it. As Syndic told me, Crossing lines is crossing lines, guys. Keep it in game. Have fun in game. Show each other a little bit of respect. Remember, their living rooms, not yours. Come on. Their mom could be present. Imagine if your mom was present. Come on. Do you want to give any shout-outs? Because I feel if we keep going, we just might regurgitate the same nonsense, and I don't really want to talk shit about any of these guys. I really feel like
I want to tell everyone. I want to shout out to like everyone in Ironborn and indeed Ego whole. I respect all you guys, and I hope you do really well in the next season coming up. It's definitely going to be harder when it has to be a ZVZ focus season instead of what we're used to. But I think you guys can really pull it off if you work together with each other and keep cool heads moving forward. I want to thank the people who have been helping me to keep Ego safe from spies, both on the inside and unusual activity on the outside. And I do want to warn people that spying is cool. Spying is part of the game. Unfortunately, I've come to accept that that's a thing that exists. But crossing lines is crossing lines. Again, feel free to listen in on what other guilds are doing. Feel free to look out for bits of information that may help you. But try and leave it at that if possible. That's all I'm going to say.
You're talking about the manipulation of individuals through...
I'm talking about the yes, I'm absolutely talking about the manipulation of individuals on any side.
I've seen it in the past, and when I've heard about it, I've never been happy about it. And I've heard about it from people I do enjoy, and when I heard about it from them, I was very upset about that. It's never okay. Like, I don't care if they're your enemy or what you think about them and stuff like that. So realize you're playing a video game. Guys, try not to be so terrible to each other, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we know what happens. It's not cool. Yeah, well, I want to give a shout out to Torthor. Guy, I know you may have gotten shit on a lot in this interview, man, but I mean,
I've tried to keep it respectful towards Torthor. I want to say that
I would have him on again. Like here, Torthor, I'd have you on again, but understand. Let's try to come, please. Okay, yeah, we get that. I wouldn't mind having the two of you on. And maybe I would do this. I know I said I would put on the cap. I tell you what, I would even watch a week of his shows, like, condense them down.
I wouldn't.
No, just to get the mannerisms down and even do the character. I would do that for you guys. Put you in a room. I'd talk to you as Dr. Phil, my best Dr. Phil impression. Get you guys in. I'd even do it with Syndic and Voltel as well. Let's ease some of these pains in Albion. Like, we don't need to have everybody fighting each other all the time. We just need you guys to fight each other all the time. Like, there's a difference. Like, can't we just not get along, but not be awful? Like, lines. I don't know what to say. I want you guys to murder each other in game terribly and steal from each other, because that's great. But... jeez. Let's all get along. Okay. Moving on. I hope we can get you and Torthor back together. I think it was a relationship made in spring break. It's pretty close to heaven.
Okay, well.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Dell. It was quite interesting for me. It was not easy for that one. We had to be very careful. I had to be very careful because I don't want to shit on any of you players. But golly, sometimes you guys do some silly shit. So try to keep it in game. Try to have fun with each other. And you can check this show out Monday through Friday at 18 UTC at twitch.tv/Albion Online. And we will be here this weekend, this very Saturday, for yet another Invasion Day in the very beginning of Season 8. Yes, I'll be here at 18 UTC with my man Lupac, and again at 1 UTC with my man Lupac as these territories go live, and you guys get the very first opportunity to start taking towers. And it's gonna be lit. I'm really looking forward to this. And yeah, guys, if you want Duratine, I heard you out there in chat. You're yipping it up quite a bit. If you want to do an interview, I'm only here to give the players a platform. It's not my opinion. All I'm doing is just giving what the players are saying, and you guys can have your say as well. There are just certain rules you got to follow. It's not that hard. Duratine, you've done it before. I'll be glad to do it with you again. I did invite Syndic to share his side of the opinion. He didn't take me up on that offer. So there's that. All right, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.